Welcome to the What Is She Even Reading podcast.
I'm Claire, and I love to read.
I'm Jeremy, and I don't.
Join us each week as we read through some of today's most popular books as Jeremy discovers what is she even reading. Hello, and welcome back to What Is She Even Reading? I'm Claire.
I'm Jeremy.
And we're back.
We're back.
Happy Iron Flame Eve. Ooh. If you're listening to this on the 7th, then obviously it's already come out. But in real world, we're recording the day before. So
Yep.
I'm very, very excited. Even though mine doesn't show up until the 8th, according to Amazon. Which I'm not very happy about. But
No. I'll have to stay off the internet to avoid any spoilers.
I know, that's what I'm worried about, because I read it pretty soon after this one came out, but I didn't, I was a little behind, and I did get some, accidental spoilers, so
Right.
I'm basically going to have to, ban myself from the internet for a couple days till I... But see, you will read it section by section.
Yeah. But
I guess I might read it all at once.
you
But
can read it all at once, but I don't go onto the sections of the internet that would
it's true.
spoil
You're
it
not
for
on
me, so I
Book
don't.
Talk or
It's no threat
Bookstagram.
to me.
Yeah. So,
I can read it as I wish.
yeah. Okay, so this week we're reading chapters 35 and 36.
Yep.
They were very intense chapters. Mm-hmm. A lot happened,
Yes.
and they were very long chapters. That's why we did this just
They
the
were pretty-
two.
They were pretty long, yeah.
And 34 ended with a cliffhanger.
Yes.
Reminder, I think you all know by now, but spoilers for Fourth Wing up to chapter 36. So you've been warned. Again, I think you know this by now, but just in case we have some new listeners. So 34 ended with the cliffhanger of Xaden saying, you're early, right?
To the Griffin Riders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which left us all in shock.
Yep.
So, and you had some predictions, which I don't remember too much about them, but
Yeah, I don't remember what they were, other
Yeah.
than Xaden's working with them
yeah,
or something. So
which,
we find out the answer in this chapter.
yeah.
So that's convenient.
So we're winding down. Only three more chapters after this section.
Yep.
So I'm excited for you to finish. So, anyways, shall we jump right into 35?
I think so.
Okay.
So 35, the opening quote is about Finn Ryerson, Xaden's dad. During the last days of his interrogation, it basically says that he went crazy, and then they killed him or whatever.
Yeah.
I forget what they said he was spouting on about, but he
Yeah,
said he
no.
was going on about something. So then jump back into the action. Violet has apparently never seen a Griffin Rider before. Normally the dragons just burn them to ash, which is fair. So then Xaden asks, what happened to meeting tomorrow? They don't have a full shipment. So obviously the question is, which I had, and then Violet immediately had, is a shipment of what? Right? What's he shipping them? But then Taryn assures her that if the Griffins or Riders try anything, there'll be a snack. So she's protected. The male Griffin Rider says that he doesn't know why they're bothering to warn them. Apparently they lost a village to a horde of Venin 2 days ago. Bum, the Venin. And so she's confused since she thought that Venin were just mythical creatures. But
Yeah, but were you surprised that came back into play?
yes.
Yeah.
Well, immediately, yes, because I was like, I thought those things were just out of the book. But then I was like, well, that's probably why the book was so important.
Yeah.
And we were going to come back around to those things. But no one else seems too bothered by it, other than the Venin don't normally come this far over. So they're just like, oh yeah, of course the Venin.
Yeah.
They're just not supposed to be over here. And then one of the Griffin Riders sort of threatens to kidnap Violet based on what the king might be willing to pay for the daughter of his most illustrious general.
Yeah.
She dares him to try and makes a little lightning to scare him. And then Xaden does some cool shadow stuff to basically tell him he'll kill him if he tries.
Yeah, and I think Taryn basically like growls
Yeah.
a little bit too.
Basically, they all tell him, fat chance, buddy. Let's see then. So then the Griffin Riders leave, and Imogen leads everyone else away. And she starts noticing that everyone else has rebellion relics, which I'm pretty sure
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that.
I mentioned that in the last one.
Yeah, but you didn't like say like, oh.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you like just kind of like said it. Did you think anything of that, or did you
I
just?
thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
But it wasn't confirmed because she didn't know all of them.
Yeah, that's true.
So then she's all mad that she fell for it. Right?
Yeah.
And Xaden tricked her or whatever. So she gets mad at Taryn because he knew and
Yeah.
wonders if Dane was right.
Which is this where he says like, oh, there's something stronger than the bond between a dragon and its rider,
Might
and
have
it's
been.
the bond between a dragon and its mate.
I think so,
Which
yeah.
I get, but then Andarna also knew. So like, how did she not feel the need to, like
Right.
that doesn't stand like fine for Taryn, you know, convenient.
Yeah,
But like, it doesn't stand for Andarna
true.
because she doesn't, unless she's just like, because she's a like quote unquote child, and she's like, they take care of her, that she's bound by that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a
Yeah.
good question. But so she starts lashing out at Liam.
Yeah.
And she threatens to kill Xaden. She accuses him of being a traitor. Meanwhile, we learn the Griffin Riders are called Flyers. He makes a point to correct her.
Yeah, which I was like, why does there have to be a distinction between?
Because-
I mean, I don't get. Like, I get that they're dragon riders and they're griffin flyers, but then like, okay, what are the Venom then? What are they? Are they flyers? Or are they just monsters?
I don't know.
Are they riders?
I don't know.
Like, it felt silly
Yes.
to have like a distinct name for that because they ride something different.
Yes. But, you know, she says he's working with the enemy.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, surely there's an explanation for this.
Which
You know?
is.
Well, we don't know that yet.
Yeah, but what do you think what the explanation is? Like, we still don't know.
We still don't know. But I was thinking, like, there's got to be, like, a good reasoning behind this. Like, he's trying to do good. Mm-hmm. He's not trying to turn against Navarre in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's not trying to be a traitor in that sense. So she asks what the shipments are, and he says weapons. Mm-hmm. Apparently, to fight the Venom. That's all they're for, is to fight the Venom. They're like special, infused with something. Mm-hmm. So then she thinks to that letter that her father wrote that folklore is passed from one generation to the next to teach us about our past. So she wonders if he was trying to say the stuff in the book of fables was real.
Yeah, because didn't he also say like it only takes
Yeah, I think
like one?
I wrote that down later,
Oh, okay.
but I don't remember. But yeah, it's like one generation
Yeah.
to change the past,
Which
the next one to teach it, and then it's history's changed.
we're kind of seeing. I mean, as I've reread this, there's Violet's very like information, but she's seen that
They withhold a lot.
they withhold a lot of information.
You
And
know,
I feel like
there's-
she's kind of starting to learn that,
Yeah.
which is kind of where I feel like her father kind of came into it.
He was
Like he,
trying to dig up.
yeah,
and
like he
stuff
was
that-
either
yeah.
aware or, do you think he was aware?
I mean, probably. Probably why he
Yeah.
hid that letter in the
Yeah.
book of fables, right?
Yeah.
So then Xaden just tells her that the Venom are real. Mm-hmm. Says they drained all the magic out of the Barrens and then spread like an infestation. Mm-hmm. So she asked Taryn if he wants to add to the discussion, but he wants her to come to her own conclusions. Because he chose her for her intellect or whatever. And so at this point, I was like, I bet the making the right decision thing from that letter was her choosing to fight the venom or something like that.
Yeah, like, what
Which
do you...
that gets answered shortly.
Yeah.
But so I was like, okay, that's got to come back into play here shortly. We're running out of time for it to come into play, obviously.
I mean, but it's a 5-series book.
That's true. But in my mind, this seems like something that needs to be wrapped up in this book, or is going to be wrapped up in this book.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but... So then we learn that the wards make non-dragon magic impossible, so that's why they aren't attacking Navarre.
Which,
and- It seems convenient.
yeah.
And they would have no clue that Poromil is being viciously attacked by dark wielders just beyond the borders.
Why? Because of the wards?
I think so, yeah. Something like that. So Xaden says that they may know and choose to do nothing about it. Oh, this is talking about the leadership.
Yeah, I feel like it's the, like, they know and they're not telling people, which is the withholding of
Yeah.
information.
Yeah. And then apparently the only thing that kills Venom is the very thing that powers their wards. And the raids have been because the Griffin Riders are looking for the material that powers the wards. And apparently it's forged into weapons to fight the Venom.
Yes.
And so that's what he's been given them.
Which I wonder what it is.
Yeah. I don't wonder what it is and then where he's getting it.
Yeah. Because, well, he gives her the new dagger.
Yeah, he gives her one right now.
Similar to what she
Was
thinks
on
it's
her-
from her mom's desk.
Yeah.
Which, like, how do you feel about her mom having that?
Right. I mean, clearly she knows.
Does she, or does
I
she
mean,
just
I
have
would
that
assume-
weapon?
I would assume she knows. Miss High and Mighty General, whatever she is, of course
Yeah.
she knows. So,
But I'm like, is it like iron? Is it like magic stone? Is it a resource that they have? Like, what is it?
yeah, I don't know. I don't think they've told us.
I know, but that's why I'm
guess
just
so,
talking about it. I don't know.
I don't know.
Curious.
Yeah, I don't know. And he says, what does he say? He basically says that he hoped if this threat was out there, then leadership would tell them, but obviously they didn't.
Yeah.
So she's mad that he hid this info from her, and then he says that he didn't tell her, basically, 'cause he didn't want Dane to see her memory
Yeah.
and ruin everything. Since, Dane would never break a rule or anything.
Yeah, because she was kind of mad about that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you don't know him. And he's like, he wouldn't even break a rule to save you. Like,
Right.
no.
Yeah. So then Satan starts getting a little animated, says that the leadership would rather just sit behind the wards and do nothing, and that he watched his father be executed trying to help these people, and he couldn't risk her. He says she loves him. She cuts him off and says, "I loved you."
I mean, I would be mad too.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
I mean, yeah. And then he shouts that she loves him.
Yeah, but does he love her?
I mean,
He hasn't
I don't
said
know.
it.
He hasn't said.
Right.
Yeah. So then she recalls the "you'll make the right choice" thing after Xaden gets pretty intense when saying that everything between them is real, and it seems like he means it. She says she believes him but doesn't trust him anymore. She tries to return the dagger, but he insists that she keep it.
Yeah.
So then they fly off to Athbine, however you pronounce it. Her dragons try to tell her that they didn't lie, they just didn't tell her. And Terrence says she has every right to be angry with them.
Which I'm
is
like, good for him.
fair.
Yeah.
So she starts to think a bit while they're flying. The book must have been a forbidden one. Apparently there's forbidden books. The books in the archive go back 400 years, but their history is over 600. There's 200 years of history that's gone.
Missing.
Yeah. Very little information on there.
Well, and then, you know,
Because there's like one thing from the very 600
yeah.
years ago.
Yeah, and she asked whatever the scribe's name is. I forgot. For this book, and they didn't have it.
Right,
So, like,
yeah.
obviously...
Yeah, when she was on archive duty, she asked for a copy because she didn't have hers yet. And she had never heard of it.
Yeah.
So she basically starts realizing what her dad was telling her. Yeah, here we go. So Taryn confirms what she was thinking. The one generation to change the text, one to choose to teach that text, and then the lie becomes a history.
Yeah.
So, and then they land at the outpost. So she knows that Xaden is looking at her longingly. She doesn't trust him, is all mad at him.
Yes.
And it's noted that the outpost is empty,
Which is weird.
which is weird. Xaden says he doesn't think this is a war game. You know, she tries to argue, but then agrees everything feels off. You know, everyone kind of thinks something doesn't feel right here.
Because they said it was like the most... They wouldn't evacuate this outpost just for a war game. Like, it's
Yeah.
the biggest one or something like
Yeah.
that. So,
So then, you know, they kind of spread out, and her and Xaden climb to the highest tower that overlooks the Poramish trading post. And, you know, and then Liam uses his laser eyes
yeah, I forgot that he had that.
to look down there. And so Xaden asks what Dane whispered to her before
Because
they
he's,
left.
like, starting to connect the dots.
Yeah. He asks if she told Dane about his trips there. And then Garrick interjects, says he has something from the Southeast Tower. You know, she says no, she never hid anything from him. You know, she never told Dane anything. He asks if Dane ever touched her and touches her face, you know, to demonstrate all that that it would take. You know, I was imagining he's got like grab both hands on her forehead or something like, but no, apparently just a simple touch is all
I
he
think
needs.
that's what he said at the beginning of the book.
I don't remember, but I guess I was imagining.
Yeah.
And she says that's how he always touches her. And she says she would know if he read her memories, but Xaden says she wouldn't. And he's like, trust me, you wouldn't know. And so then Xaden realizes that Dane knows that, you know, he's been sneaking off to Athbine. And so he's not mad at her because she didn't know. And she again tries to say that Dane wouldn't do that, blah, blah, blah. But then recalls that he did try to read her memories, you know, that one time with, what was her name? Amber?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, okay, so last week you noted that his dad looked at him.
So he must
here
have,
you go.
Yeah, he told his dad.
And then aren't you mad at Dane?
Yes.
Like, what the heck?
What a piece of crap.
Because I should have noted it. I didn't look up how many times. But when they describe, like if you go back and read, their interactions, often it describes Dane cupping her face. So he does it every time they talk.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really think anything of it.
No.
Because she doesn't think anything of it. But
Right.
if you go back and read it, it's like, I mentioned it a couple times, like, oh, and he cupped her face, like, but that's what he was reading her mind. Yeah.
So does he know about Andarna's power then?
I don't know.
I guess we don't know what Dane knows.
Yeah. And, like, I don't know if he can only read, like, what she's thinking, or if he can read.
Like how many memories back
Yeah,
can he
yeah.
read? Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, it's a good question,
I feel like they...
but I think he would have done something about it if he
True.
knew.
True.
Right?
Possibly.
Good. I feel like he doesn't because he wanted to read her. It must be recent memories, maybe. And like she didn't let him read her memory when she stopped time the first time.
True.
So maybe not. I do feel like they would have done something,
Yeah.
but anyways, we hate Dane.
We don't like Dane.
Now I did see somewhere. This is kind of like a theory for how the rest of the series is gonna go. It's not a spoiler, but they're like, what if Dane and Violet are the true enemies to lovers?
It could be.
Wouldn't that be like a twist? A terrible twist.
would
I
be.
hope not.
So anyway, Garrett comes in and he hands an envelope to Xaden. It says, War Games for Xaden Ryerson, wing leader of 4th Wing. Violet recognizes the handwriting as Colonel Atos, the Dane's dad. And then Liam sees something just past the trading post. And he's kind of jumping back between, like, what other people are saying and what's going on right there. So then the letter says that their mission is to survive if they can. So I wrote that I bet Dane told his dad to do this. Again, that's why he looked at him. And that's why he was so adamant that Violet not go.
Yeah, because he knew they were going to die.
They were basically sending them off to die.
Yeah.
So she feels terrible that she's unknowingly betrayed all of them. Realizes Dane must have told his dad to where they've been sneaking off, as we were just discussing. Then Liam shouts, "This is bad, guys." Xaden tells her it isn't her fault and that they've been sent here to die. And then that's the end of the chapter.
Yeah, so how did you feel? This was a lot of information thrown at you.
One,
Venin are real.
Venin are real.
2, we hate Dane. 3, he's been reading her memory this entire time. You're going to have to go back and look.
Yeah.
Because most times it's like he cups her face. So, 3, you realize that Xaden has been, like, working with...
He's been trying to help people.
Yeah.
And we're learning more...
This is like... I mean, he said this is why his dad died, right? So This is the rebellion.
Right. That's what I was about to say. So we're kind of learning more about the so-called rebellion, why they called it something else.
Yeah.
Is that they were basically trying to go help these people. But the Navarra leadership basically said, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to sit here. You're crazy.
We're going to sit here in our protected wards.
Yeah.
And not have to worry about it.
Yeah.
It's getting interesting, isn't it?
It is.
So, chapter 36, I think it opens with something from the Fables of the Baron about the wyvern's cry. Is that how you say it?
It's about
wyvern?
the wyvern.
Wyvern?
I say wyvern.
Wyvern.
Whatever it is.
I don't know. Taryn starts by saying, like, he thinks something's off. He thought so at the lake, but it's stronger here.
Yep.
So, like,
It's coming from the valley
immediately
below.
you're like, oh no, here we go, right? It's kind of leading you into this big action scene. Hopefully you can't hear our cat crying in the background. Yeah, he thinks it's coming from the valley below. Liam can see it, but he says if it is what he thinks it is, then they are, like, screwed, basically. Sure. Which I'm guessing he's seen... Well, we know he's seen the Venin.
Yeah.
And the letter states that it's a test of their command. Either they have to choose... They have the choice of abandoning the village of Navari's enemy... or abandoning the command of your wing. So basically they have to decide if they're going to be loyal or if they're going to, quote-unquote, rebel and save these people.
Yeah, Xaden says that they're testing their loyalty without just straight up saying it.
Yeah. So, Xaden's like, if we leave now, we could still make it to the new location of, like, the headquarters for Fourth Wing to carry out the war games. But if they leave... this trading post, then all of the people will die, basically.
Yeah.
So, and Imogen's like, what will they die from? And then Liam responds, finally, with Venin.
Yeah.
So, like, dun, dun, dun. So they're described with red eyes... or red veins around their eyes.
Purple robes and distended red veins spidering around bright red eyes.
Yeah.
Bright red eyes.
Because magic corrupts their blood as they lose their souls.
Yeah.
Like, holy cow. And Terrence says, like, 7 griffins have also landed with them. Like, to help them. So Violet's concerned about Andarna and... then all of a sudden there's an explosion, which is the gates, right?
Yeah. It said the Venin with the large staff just like blows up the gates to the trading post.
Apparently in this city of Russin, there's 300 people. Bodhi's like, let's go. And Xaden's like, hold up. We don't know what we're getting into.
Yeah.
And then he basically is like, you have to choose. Like, I don't know, we might all die. Like there's a possibility that everyone could die. You need to, like, it needs to be your choice, not, like, my choice, basically. And how do you say Soleil?
Soleil?
I don't know. Says they're kind of going pros and cons, I guess, a little bit. Like, oh, we have the numbers and we have air superiority. And Violet, which I'm like, girl, you just jinxed it. It's like, at least there aren't any wyvern. And Xaden even is like, don't borrow trouble. I'd be like, shut up.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, it's nothing. We got 4 Venom versus 10 Dragon Riders and 7 Griffin Flyers, not riders. And then the brunette Griffin
Yeah, the
Flyer.
Griffin Flyers arrive.
They got there.
Oh.
Yeah. I already said that.
Well, they had landed, but they hadn't walked up.
Okay. They show up. And the brunette Griffin Flyer says that, like, 4 Venom is basically a death sentence, which seems extreme.
Yeah.
But
they say only took 2 of them to take out an entire village, so
yeah.
they're pretty powerful.
And she's like, she also is like, I'm not going to ask you to fight. You should go.
And she says that they're after something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think she's the one who's like, Dragonfire is not going to kill them. Only the daggers will kill them.
Yeah, only the weapons.
Which I'll come back to in a second. But again, she's like, you need to go. You know, this isn't your fight, basically.
Yeah, she tells Xaden to get his people out of there.
And he's kind of like, we can live as cowards or die as riders. Or someone says that.
Yeah, he says that Sigale never runs from a fight.
Yeah, and today will not be the first.
Yeah.
So basically they're like, no, we're going to stay.
Yeah.
And it's up to Violet to decide because everyone else has agreed.
Well, Xaden also said that, like, he's not going to force them to stay. He doesn't want to put them in harm's way. He's leaving it up to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like thinking like their parents died to expose the truth of this, and my parents sacrificed my brother to keep this a secret.
Yeah.
So she's kind of pissed.
She's like, screw them.
Yeah. So they're like, they make their plan. She joins in and they're making their plan. And they head out and Sigale's like, I knew you would make the right choice, which, okay. And she tells Andarna to, like, you need to stay here and hide.
Yeah.
And if we don't make it back, like, you need to, like,
go back to the Vale.
Yeah, to protect yourself.
Yes.
And she's not happy.
She gets a bit sassy.
Yeah.
Fine. If I have to.
Taryn backs her up and is like, we don't know. You're basically a moving target. Yeah. So, and then all of a sudden the wyvern show up because she jinxed it. And all of a sudden they don't have the air advantage anymore. We saw that coming, right?
Yes.
And Taryn is like, oh, they're abominations, which...
Because the Venom created the wyvern so that they could rival the dragons.
Yeah, because they have 2 legs versus four legs of dragons.
Yeah. And
it's strange because in this other book that I'm reading, which most people probably have read, if you Throne of Glass. Spoiler for that, I guess. There's the wyvern or whatever. And they're like normal, like, creatures. I don't think maybe they were created. I don't know. But there's also one, this is a side note, in that reminds me of Toothless because he likes to, like, smell the wildflowers and stuff like that. Anyways, so that's when I'm like, seems strange that they were, like, made, but maybe they were made in Throne of Glass too. I have to go back and read. But anyways, side note.
And they're also like the opposite of the dragons because the Venom channel power to the wyvern.
Yes.
Not the opposite, like with the dragons and the
they
humans.
seem to be complete because they have like blue flames.
Yeah.
Instead of like normal flames. Like they just seem to be like, they made them like totally opposite, which is interesting. But No one wants to change their minds. They're still going for it. I think Xaden's kind of mad that Violet's, or he's worried, I guess, that she's going to fight too. So he gives her another blade. And then he kind of reveals, because she's like, oh, Melgren's going to know.
Right.
And he's like, no, he's not, because of my relic.
Yeah.
Which, did you know that?
I did not.
And she's like, are you keeping any more secrets from me?
He basically says yes, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he's
But
like,
I'll tell you later.
yeah, I'll tell you later if you stay alive. As kind of like a bargaining. Like, you better stay alive so I
Right.
can tell you all these secrets.
Right.
So they take off, they're flying. I wrote some play-by-play, but
Yeah, I did too, but to some degree, I just wanted to read it.
yeah,
The dragons
so,
feel that there's something in the trading post.
Yes.
I think it's the Venin or after.
yeah.
They see one on a wooden clock tower.
And
Terran
he's, like,
torches it.
hurling blue flames like daggers at
Yeah.
the citizens.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, that seems pretty cool.
Yeah, it does. Terran torches the tower, and she's like, "Yeah, got him."
Yeah, and
But then
she's
he's
like,
still there.
He's still there, and I'm like, the lady just told
Told
you
you.
that you can only kill them with the stupid dagger. There's several instances of this where they're like, I'm surprised they're still living. I'm like, she literally said they will not be killed by anything but this dagger. Like, I don't understand
Which-
why she's confused.
Why couldn't they make it into other type weapons? And why did it have to be a dagger? Like, why couldn't it have been a ranged weapon? Or a weapon that the dragon could adorn and use? Like something for their claws,
Well, because that would be,
you know?
that's smart. I don't know.
Something they could put on their wing
Well, that's why
and
I'm
fly
like,
by
what kind of
and
material is it?
I don't know.
Oh, well, we don't know.
We don't know yet.
But yeah, she has several instances of this where, and it frustrated me because I was like, we just learned that they won't be killed by anything, right? So like, I'm like, sometimes she's a little stupid, and she's not supposed to be. So that's
She's
like,
supposed to be smart.
she's supposed to be like, that should have connected. Now, it could be in the heat of the moment,
Right.
but I feel like I would remember, oh, the dragonfire's not going to kill it, and
Yeah.
she should be the one while everyone's cheering, going, no, 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 right? That's her character. So I was a little confused by that, why she was confused.
Yeah.
Anyways,
And the wyvern returns, but it's a different one. So there's more than just the one.
yes. And
Terran is apparently commanding the other dragons.
yes,
And we learned that the dragons can also talk to the
griffins.
griffins, which Terran's kind of like, well, duh. How did you think we talked before the humans, right?
I'm kind of like, I didn't know griffins and dragons were friends.
I didn't either. I thought they were enemies.
They always made them seem like enemies. So
Right.
like, the Soliel, whatever her name is, found a sealed entrance to a mine. So they're going to evacuate the citizens into there.
Yep.
So they're basically trying to like cover these people while they're like evacuating.
Yep.
And he's basically like, Terran is basically like to Violet, you need to start like taking some, striking
Yeah.
people. And
She's like, I can't aim.
I can't aim, which obviously we
Basically
learned.
says, you will.
Yeah, but she can't. Right? And so, I don't know, there's a lot of like, they're hovering over the townspeople trying to protect them.
like distracting the venom.
And she's trying to like aim a bolt at this venom that's
Yeah.
up on a mountain or something. And she misses it, but then like the venom starts channeling. And everything turns,
Causing a circle of death.
yeah,
That's
which I'm
like
like,
growing.
what?
Yeah.
So this is the part that I didn't totally. Salil, whatever her name is, starts running for this venom as it's got the circle of death. So did it, and its dragons going with it, with Salil, whatever.
Right.
I don't know how to say her name, and they just kind of like shrivel up and die.
Yep.
Is it from this like venom sucking the power out of
I
them?
think so, yeah.
That's craziness.
Because it's like sucking the power out of the earth.
Yeah, so
basically.
did it get her power?
I don't know.
Did that make it stronger?
Maybe.
What? So is it, I guess it's whatever crosses that ring of death, it will die?
Yeah.
So she's dead
Yep.
by a random character that we didn't know.
Yeah.
They note that there's this outbuilding that has, I think, Liam's family crest on it.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it has unstable material in it. Which I'm like,
What
why
does that mean?
does it have Liam's family crest on it?
Are they known explosive makers or something?
I don't know. Is that going to come back in the next book?
Could.
I don't know. I was a little like, and then Violet's like, oh, I'm not going to avoid it. I'll just hit it.
Or maybe I'll blow it up.
Sure. But then I feel like she misses it. And so Taryn ignites it with,
He just turns and
he blows
There's
fire
fire,
on it
yeah.
and it blows up. But it doesn't kill the wyvern
Well, of course not.
or the rider, which
Yeah.
duh. Again, here we are with being confused.
Now, I was noting in here that I bet Andarna is going to be the key to killing these things.
You think so?
Yes. Because she can stop time. Stop time, get up close, stabby,
Yeah, but
stabby, done.
stabby. Yeah, but she can't stop time for that long.
It doesn't even have to be that long. You can
Well,
be
there's
quick.
4 of them.
Well, stop time, zoom in, whoosh,
Stabby,
done. Or slice, you know?
Slicey.
Yeah. It's like in Call of Duty, you knife someone, they're instantly dead. Easy peasy.
Now there's 6 wyvern.
Yeah, there's more of them than dragons at this point.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
So, like, she's trying to, like, draw them out of the city with her lightning.
Yeah.
She manages to strike one,
Yep.
and then she's, like, continuing. Mm-hmm. They're kind of flying around. One is on her tail.
Zayden gets one with his shadows at one point.
Yeah, and, like, Segale comes up and rips it apart, the one that was on their tail, which I think this is the part where Segale gives Violet, like, side eye, basically, like you should be doing something about this.
Yeah. Because it was about to get Taryn.
Yeah.
And at some point they note that they seem to want what's in the clock tower,
Yes.
which we just still don't know what it is.
Nope.
And at one point, Zayden is off of Segale, but then he uses the shadows as like a rope to get back
that's
on her.
so
which is
cool, right?
But basically, it's a huge battle
Yeah.
of
Lots of chaos, it seems.
dragons flying around,
It was-
wyvern flying around.
It was hard to read.
It was kind of hard to keep up with.
Like, I'm not saying any. It's just it was hard to. It was confusing. I was confused at times, and this is my second, if not third time reading this part at least. So
As far as like where everyone is, what everyone's doing, what's happening.
it was a little hard to imagine.
where they're going relative to the outpost they were just at
Yeah.
in the town.
And I don't know if it's just because like we don't fully understand, and like we got all
Yeah.
these new creatures that are kind of introduced
Yeah.
suddenly, or if it's like it's just hard to understand. But it all comes basically chaos, and then she's like, "Let's go up to see what's going on." And they go up, and then they see Liam and Day.
Yeah.
They're flying, but there's a Venom riding a wyvern on their tail. So she's like, oh no, Liam needs help. So they're running after him now. And he, like, first off, wow, Liam, go Liam. He is running along
The
Day's
dragon's
spine,
gets flipped up by the tail
up, and he lands on the
on the wyvern.
wyvern.
And he kills the
And
venom
he
riding it.
slits the throat of the venom, and then the wyvern dies too, and then he leaps back onto Day's back. What a badass,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see why he's number one in the class.
Yeah. And then, like, there's another one that comes up near them. I think Violet's going to try to get it with lightning, but Taryn, like, he, like, flips over and
Yeah, like,
gets it
rips
down
it
the
with his
middle.
claws?
With his claw, yeah.
yeah.
Which was pretty cool, too.
And then there's another one that drops out of a cloud from above them, and there's no time for, like, them to, like, have evasive maneuvers. So Day, Liam's dragon, drives into the side of it, and then so Liam falls off of Day's back,
Yeah.
And Violet manages to like
Catch him
somehow in her hand.
I don't.
And he's like hanging off the side, it seems.
Yeah.
Somehow she gets him up and like wraps something around him so he's like kind of strapped in with her.
Bit, yeah.
But then his dragon and the wyvern are locked in battle.
Yeah.
And they're fighting basically to the death, essentially.
Yeah, Taryn's trying to catch up and
but Violet
help. But Violet doesn't want to hit.
Yeah, she can't. I mean, because she can't strike to save her life.
Yes, she can't hit the broadside of a barn. So
and Violet's like, Xaden, we need you over here, and he's like, I can't.
Yeah.
You know, if I leave, all of these civilians are gonna die. So they're kind of falling to the ground. Day and this wyvern, and Xaden finally is like, I'm on my way there, but it's too late.
Yeah.
Right. So Liam's telling Violet this whole time, like, you need to take out the riders, which she doesn't understand because, again, stupid girl, right? Like, I mean, you had to understand what he meant, right?
Yeah.
But, so Taryn manages to rip a hole in the
he manages to do
wyvern's
some damage to it.
wing, but because it's, like, holding on to Day,
It just
they just, like, free
it
fall.
won't let go, right? It doesn't care that it's hurt.
And
it just
they
wants to kill.
Yeah, and it's like got him wrapped around. So I feel like he makes him take the brunt of because they hit the ground, and like Day doesn't move, but the like wyvern limps away. Which I'm like, how did he not die? But so Liam is screaming, Taryn is grieving and screaming, and basically he's dead. And this is where I'm like, I don't understand why if your dragon dies, you die. Right? Because now Liam only has minutes because his dragon died?
And like he wants to be with Day.
And he's like screaming for him. It's very heart-wrenching and sad. And
Violet tries to get him over there.
Yeah, she can't get him over there. And he's like, you need to take care of my sister next year when she comes to...
Pascaya.
Yeah, for the crossing thing.
Parapet.
Yeah. And she's like, he's still saying, like, I know you feel betrayed by Xaden, but, like, he needs you. And he's like, I don't mean alive, like, but he, like, really needs you. And she's like, thanks for being my friend. And he's like, it's been my honor. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so sad. And then Xaden finally shows up and, like, takes him over.
Carries him over there.
And then Liam's just gone. And were you crushed? Like, crushed? Did you cry? No. This was one of the spoilers that I got before this book, like, before I finished this book. Because people would be like, he was gone too soon. And I talked about this at the beginning, that there was this character that everyone kept talking about that was, like, basically that died. And I was like, do I know this character? And we hadn't really been introduced to him. Like, he hadn't become her, like, bodyguard when I was reading it and seeing these, like, TikToks about it. And so then I knew that he was going to die at some point. And it was kind of like, oh, this is disappointing that I know that. So I think it would have been more... Like, I didn't cry or anything because I knew it was coming. But I was very sad. He was one of the better characters, arguably.
Yeah, he was a good guy, it seemed.
But anyways, so poor Liam.
Yep.
And then, like, all of a sudden, there's, like, a dozen...
There's dozens of them. Dozens of wyvern now.
Around.
Swarming around.
So Taryn's like, we're targets on the ground. So they, like... Let's go hunt, basically. And Xaden comes up to her and is like, Liam wanted me to tell you, which I'm like, first off, this sounds like so-and-so wanted me to tell you that they like, you know, like, it sounded very middle school-esque. And then she was like, why didn't he tell him myself? Dude is dead. Why are we worried about that, right?
Yeah.
And... said something about like there's only 2 riders with that horde of wyvern. Which I guess you don't know what that means, do you?
No, not really, other than I guess there's 2 venom and
All those
dozens of wyvern that they're creating.
Yeah. So her and Taryn take off.
Yeah.
And she, like, I guess she's pissed, basically. So she lets all her power loose.
Zayden doesn't Zayden basically say that she has to kill them? Like, she has to be violence? Or she says that she has to be
I think
violence.
he says, like, live up to your nickname. And I'm like, what? I didn't get it. I mean, I get it, but, like, why does she need to be the one?
Because she is violence.
But she's really not.
I don't know.
I'd be like, Shadow Wheeler, you come up here too, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, they take off. She lets all her power loose.
She immediately kills the one that killed Day.
Yes, with her lightning.
Yes.
And then she doesn't see the one coming at them from
the
left until she feels Taryn's roar of pain.
Oh no. And that's the end of the chapter.
Dun, dun, dun.
Bum, bum.
So, and you gotta wait.
Really leaving us hanging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got 3 more chapters.
Yeah.
What do you think? Well, first off, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I was thinking about this. I think I told you the other day. I think there's a couple possibilities on how this book is going to end. Either they're going to win and go back and be hailed as heroes, or they're going to win, go back, be hailed as traitors, or they're not going to win and they're going to be in sort of a sticky situation at the end of the book, and it's going to end on a massive cliffhanger of, are they going to make it out alive or not? I think that's what's going to happen.
I don't know.
Those are 3 options.
Well, you've basically not narrowed it down.
I'm covering all my bases, but I think that's what's going to happen.
So do you think you will have a wrap-up happy ending, or do you think it'll end on a cliffhanger?
I mean, I want it to have a wrap-up because I like that kind of thing. I prefer that. But it could end on a cliffhanger. Or maybe in the fashion of this book, it'll jump ahead 3 years. Who knows?
I mean, maybe.
Or maybe a month. Maybe a month is more reasonable than 3 years, but... No. Well, I'll just have to see, I guess.
Yeah, so only 3 more chapters. Can you believe it?
No.
It seems like we just started reading this.
I know.
So.
It's kind of picked up quickly here at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes a little bit to get into. And then, like, I feel like you're learning a lot more information at the last little bit of this. So. Guess you'll find out
soon enough.
Next week. And then we're jumping right into Iron Flame. So get your books. Be ready to read. I don't know the schedule yet, but I assume it'll be the first 3 chapters of Iron Flame. So I'm excited. Are you excited? I'm sad that there's 5 books and like this is only the second one. So yeah, so the next episode we'll finish the book. We have a couple of like theories that people think is going to happen either in the series or in the next book or stuff like that. And you already got one with the Violet and Dane being the true enemies to lovers.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll talk about that next week. And yeah, our cat is very excited for it.
She sure is.
And yeah, go follow us on Instagram at What Is She Even Reading. You can go DM me your favorite theory, Fourth Wing theory / prediction, and we'll feature it on the next episode. So go tell us. And I got that new holiday edition of Fourth Wing. So we got 2 more chapters. Maybe we'll include that in the next episode as well. So
Okay.
yeah, I think that's it for us because our cat is losing her mind. So thanks for listening, go leave us a review, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.